Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 636. Welcome in. I have no idea how the show sounds today. I'm in a totally new room. I moved. I got an apartment. Let me be very clear. First of all, bear with me. The last couple weeks of my life, so much has happened. I can't even properly explain what happened. And it really is crazy. If you are a person who's watched or listened to this show for a long time ongoing, you saw all the iterations of me as a human and all the show, how it's gone. You know, I lived in Hawaii multiple times. I was engaged at one point. I did a road trip. I used to record out of my truck. It has been wild. And in the last couple weeks, I got insanely sick. I couldn't speak. Literally, I couldn't talk. My car got broken into. A bunch of my stuff got stolen. Then I moved out of my parents' house. Finally, got my own apartment. Here we are recording in the apartment. I have never recorded anything in this room, not even a test run, which probably not a great idea. I ideally probably should have tested this out, but here we are, 3:47 in the morning. I'm insanely busy. I don't know if everyone knows. I work in HVAC. That's my full-time job. And I am wearing a bunch. I'm doing so many things at work right now. I'm a technician, but I'm training for sales, and our company's going through a lot of transitions. Also, a lot of the HVAC industry is really slow right now, but not my company. We are insanely busy, all the time. And so I just have so much going on. I am really overwhelmed, and I'm doing the best I can. I moving, solving problems, sick, training for sales. It's literally here we are. March Madness, March came and went. I did not watch a single March Madness basketball game. I would like to watch the Final Four this weekend. Dude, I don't know, man. I'm really I am doing the best I can. So I guess I open the show to say, please be forgiving of me. Understand, my life is in flux a lot. I'm doing the best I can. However, this is a promising location. I live in downtown Portland. I've got an apartment. Life is really good. And I think I've got stability now. We're headed in a good direction where hey, once I get this space dialed in, it is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. I literally got a desk that I just put together last night. I went to bed. I woke up. Here we are. I work in a couple hours. It's been just, life has been going like crazy. And so thank you to people listening. I love you. I appreciate you. Thankfully, all this transition is happening in the off season where there's just not a lot going on in the football world. And I really want to lean on Patreon. I don't know where to take the show for next week, for example, right? I think what's probably going to happen, we're going to do predictions versus reality. But legitimately, please write in on Patreon because I don't know. What do you want from me this time of year? Really, there's not a lot happening. Thankfully, a massive trade literally happened yesterday. We'll talk about that. But I want feedback from the audience, please. Write in, help me out. What do you want from the show? Because I'm so tired and doing the best I can. I do got to tell you before we do anything else today. I got to let you know, Factor Meal Kits is offering 50% off to listeners of the show. Head to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next box. So 50% off your first box, then 20% off your next box after that. Really good deal there. That's code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off your first box, plus 20% off your next box while your subscription is active. All right. And in case you don't know, by the way, Factor is a meal kit service. They send you ready-to-eat meals. They're easy to prepare. They showed up in a box. You put the meal kits in the fridge. When you want food, you go to the fridge, you grab it, you pick up the food, you heat it up. In about 2 minutes, you got restaurant-quality food ready to go. And it's never frozen, high-quality ingredients. And really, compared to all the other options you have out there for a quick and easy meal, I would say Factor is by far the best. Also, there's a lot of ways you can customize your order. So maybe you're on a diet, you're trying to cut calories. There are low-calorie options. Factor can basically meet you wherever you want to be. They can customize your order to fit the kind of diet, the kind of food you want to eat. Maybe you just want a good meal that doesn't take 30 minutes to an hour to cook. Like for me, I'm insanely busy. It is so nice to go to my fridge and have food ready to go. It's such a massive advantage. And again, you pull it out, you put it in the microwave 2-3 minutes later, you got a high quality meal ready to go. I've saved a lot of time. And it's so much cheaper than other options, man. You've got 50% off with code SOS50. Plus, again, 20% off your second box. And when you compare like takeout, delivery, all the services that do that, guys, Factor is so much cheaper. It's a really cheap way to get a meal quickly and easily. I recommend Factor. Go to factormeals.com/SOS50 and use code SOS50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your second box. That is code SOS50 at factormeals.com/SOS50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your second box. And given the value of the ingredients, given the quality of everything, I think you should look into it. Factormeals.com/SOS50 code SOS50. All right. Kind of the big news of that, like I said, it's the NFL offseason. We're in the time of year where it's speculation season, man. Free agency has come and gone. Everyone's kind of making these predictions about the draft. Here's what's going to happen because I've got the crystal ball. I know better than other people. No one knows what's happening. We're all just waiting. The only thing I'm sure of is that Caleb Williams is getting drafted number 1 overall, and that feels like a definite. I mean, like the Bears have no other option. They're going to draft Caleb Williams number 1 overall. Other than that, there's a lot we don't know. Thankfully, massive story happened on Wednesday, April 3rd. Stefon Diggs, the Bills' number 1 receiver, got traded to the Houston Texans. So Josh Allen's number 1 weapon is no longer in Buffalo. Oh, by the way, Gabe Davis is also gone. So here's the trade. We'll talk about it. The Bills get a 2025 second-round pick. That's technically the Vikings pick. So next year in 2025, the Bills will have a second-round pick from whatever production Minnesota does next year. Houston in the trade gets Stefon Diggs, a 2024 sixth-round pick, a 2025 fifth-round pick. So now the Houston Texans offense is awesome. You got C.J. Stroud at quarterback, Joe Mixon at running back. He came over from Cincinnati. You traded for Stefon Diggs. You got 2 other good young receivers, Nico Collins and Tank Dell. Man, Houston, they made the playoffs last year. They won a playoff game. They're awesome. They just got even better. I love what's going on in Houston. I'm really excited about them. And the Buffalo Bills, man, are a depleted football team. It's a tenuous situation because the old guard is out, right? Stefon Diggs, gone. Gabe Davis, gone. Jordan Poyer, gone. Your center, Mitch Morse, gone. Tre'Davious White, your corner, gone. Like player after player, the old guard and the old core of what was the Buffalo Bills has moved on. They're out of Buffalo. And part of the Buffalo, I guess the trade for Stefon Diggs, trading him away, he wanted out. He didn't go to minicamp last year. He's expensive. He's 30 years old. But man, it's really, if you're a Buffalo Bills fan, you got to be concerned. This is a team that your offensive coordinator, Brian Daboll, left, went to New York, won Coach of the Year, immediately was really effective and awesome. You fired your offensive coordinator midseason last year. You got a defensive head coach. Your roster is now completely gutted. You're paying your quarterback $43 million a year. I don't know if the Josh Allen contract is a problem. Like, when you're paying your quarterback that much money, it does mean you got to cut costs other places. So players like Stefon Diggs suddenly, we can't keep him. He's expensive. He's unhappy. Let's boot him. Let's move on. But like a lot of quarterbacks are paid much higher than, are paid much more money than Josh Allen. Like Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, even Jalen Hurts. There's a lot of quarterbacks that make more money than Josh Allen. He's not even top 5 when it comes to quarterback compensation. But it's still worth asking, is the Josh Allen contract becoming a problem? I don't know. I just know very, very clearly things are changing in Buffalo. And I really, really thought this was the year. This last year, 2023, the Bills got hot at the end of the year. I thought this was their year to win a Super Bowl. And I knew if they didn't win in 2023, I guess the February 2024. If they didn't win the Super Bowl where Usher was performing at halftime, they're not doing it next year. It's going to be a while before Buffalo is back at the top of the AFC and, or even in that conversation. They're rebuilding in Buffalo. They really are. They got Josh Allen. I guess they got an awesome tight end, Dalton Schultz. Dalton Kincaid, excuse me. Like, outside of that, Dalton, let's be very clear, by the way. I meant Dalton Kincaid, the awesome rookie tight end who came out of Utah. I love him. But outside of him, what weapons do they have in Buffalo? They lost a couple running backs. I mean, they really are. It's a totally different team this year in Buffalo, or this fall in Buffalo. It's going to be an entirely different team than we've seen for years. New players, new faces, not a lot of weapons for Buffalo. Oh, and by the way, they don't have a top 5 pick. They don't have an early first-round pick to go get a new receiving weapon for Josh Allen. I don't know what their plan is. Free agency is over. They don't have a high draft pick. They've got the number 28 overall pick in the draft. Like, they're not getting a premier receiver in this draft. I think this year, 2024, this fall is going to be pretty rough for Buffalo. And thankfully, they're in a weaker division. The Jets have a lot of question marks. The Dolphins, maybe that's the best team in the AFC East with Tua and Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike McDaniel coaching. I mean, it really is. The division is going to come down to how good is Aaron Rodgers? What does Buffalo look like on offense? And then is Miami going to choke? Because I think it's Miami's division to lose. The Patriots are awful. They've got the number 3 overall pick. They're rebuilding everything. But the focus right now, Buffalo, man, they have taken a massive step backward. We saw it coming for a long time. I said it all through the end of last year. Remember, if you go back and listen to the show, I was like, hey, things are changing in Buffalo. There is a problem on the horizon, and it's happening. And so, man, I really think that this past year, Buffalo had a really good team. They were hot at the end of the year. Them losing in the playoffs and getting knocked out and not competing for a Super Bowl, it's a huge missed opportunity because that was their window. It's now closed, and it's a really big problem if you're a Buffalo Bills fan. All right, let me tell you about Prize Picks. March is over, but the biggest moments in college basketball tip off the month of April. Got Final Four, you got the national title. Be a part of the action on Prize Picks, both for men and women's college basketball. Prize Picks truly has something for every sports fan, from basketball and hockey to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Caitlin Clark, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham all in the same entry on Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. Making picks makes watching games more engaging, and you can turn something like $5 into $50. Prize Picks offers quick and easy deposits. You can even use Apple Pay. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/CLNS, code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy made easy. All right, we got some news. The NFL had their owners meeting, and some rules have been changed in the NFL. For example, the NFL trade deadline is now week 9. I love that. Remember, they made the season longer. It's now an 18-week season, 17 games. Didn't make sense. The NFL trade deadline was week 8. That's really early when you're playing 17 games, 18 weeks. They've moved it back to week 9. I like that. That's a subtle adjustment, just moving it back 1 week, but it makes more sense. If the year is longer, let's give teams a little more time to evaluate their talent before having the trade deadline happen. There's another new rule that I love. There's a new kickoff rule. Basically, the NFL is adopting what was the XFL's kickoff rule, where it's safer, players start closer together, you kick it deep, the guy returns a kick. And it's actually, like, I haven't watched kickoffs in years. I'll admit to you. I fast forward, I ignore it, I don't care. Kickoffs are boring. You kick it deep, it's a touchback 9 out of 10 times, even I would say like 95% of the time, a little more than 9 out of 10 times almost, it's a touchback. There's never anything interesting really on a kick return. This is going to make a massive change. Changing the kickoff structure in the NFL is going to make me watch the game more. I'm going to watch kickoffs now. I'm actually interested. And it's going to add another dynamic to the game where, hey, return men are going to matter again. I'm excited about that. And because of how the XFL rules were, because the NFL's adopting what was the XFL kickoff. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you, go watch a video of watching an XFL kick return on YouTube. You can see it's really cool. It really is. And it's safer because players aren't running 50 yards and then slamming into each other at full speed. It's great for the game. It's going to make things more interesting. I really, really like it. The only weird thing, actually, to be honest, I watched the UFL, the United Football League, this weekend, which is, remember, the USFL and the XFL merged and made one league together. And they're trying to become a feeder league to help players get into the NFL. Now, they based their kickoff on the NFL, and now the NFL has changed their kickoff policy. So what was the XFL? So it's really, I don't know why it's complicated to explain this, but the XFL gave the NFL an idea for how to change kickoffs. Then the XFL merged with the USFL and made their kickoffs adopted to follow what the NFL does. Because they're like, look, we want to prepare our players for the NFL. Let's have kickoffs that reflect what the NFL's rules are. Then the NFL, right as they were starting their league, new season, the NFL changed their kickoff rules. So what I'd like to see from the UFL, I know it's pretty late. We already had week 1 of the UFL. It's literally midseason. They should change their kickoff policy immediately, because what you want to do, you want players to practice what they're going to do in the NFL. You say your league feeding players into the NFL, hey, how about you adjust on the fly? I know it's a lot to ask, but go back to your old kickoff ways. Do what the NFL does. The whole goal of the UFL is to help players prepare for their opportunity so that when they get a shot at the NFL, they're ready. They need to have their rules almost identical to the NFL. Kickoff especially, a lot of guys in the UFL, the United Football League, this spring football league, the way they're going to make it in the NFL is on special teams. So the UFL's rules really have to mirror what the NFL does on Sundays. And I know they got kind of caught off guard. Last minute, the NFL makes a change. Now the UFL, suddenly they're outdated with the rule system. But they should make a change on the fly. I don't know why you couldn't do that. I know it's a lot of work. I know there's bureaucracy at play. But the UFL needs to make a change as soon as possible to switch their kickoff format to reflect that of the NFL. There's one more rule change that a lot of people are incensed about, really angry, upset. The hip drop tackle got banned. What does that mean, by the way? It means you can't land on people's legs when tackling them. You know, you've seen it before. When you I encourage you, look up. If you don't know what a hip drop tackle is, look it up, watch a video. You'll know exactly what it is. You've seen it 100 times, probably 1,000 times, like way more than that. It's when you grab a guy's hips and you use your body weight to just kind of lean back and you pull him to the ground. You land on him a little bit. A lot of guys are getting hurt this way. Is it messed up for the game? A little bit, because I just feel bad for defensive players in the NFL. Like, I don't know how you play defense, honestly. The rules are insane. Everything's a penalty. Like, I legitimately feel bad for anybody playing defense in the NFL. Make as much money as you can. Try to avoid injuries. Try to avoid penalties, which is basically impossible. And while I acknowledge, hey, the game is changing. Defense is not what it once was. And the game is getting softer. Let's acknowledge that. Unlike most people, I'm not that disappointed that the hip drop tackle is going away. Like, is it going to make playing defense even more complicated? Yes. Is it going to make tackling worse? Probably, right? But ultimately, it's going to make the game safer for NFL offensive superstars who are the guys getting hurt from hip drop tackles are really important players, receivers, playmakers, running backs, guys who make a huge impact week to week. And love it or not, right or not, what's really important is you can't have good players not playing because they're getting hurt. And the hip drop tackle is leading to injuries, in my opinion. And so I don't love that it's banned. It's now an illegal thing. It's a 15-yard penalty. But I get it, right? You can't have good players week to week missing time because they're getting tackled in a way that's dangerous. And so, like, again, I'll repeat this. The game is getting softer. Yes, 1,000%. Like, you can't, I don't know how you play defense. The rules seem like they're totally stacked against defenders. Basically, it's flag football anymore. I hear you. But, again, you also can't have players getting hurt constantly because their legs are getting taken out. And let's just acknowledge, I think the truth is tackle football isn't safe. Like, I don't know. Like, I have a lot of friends who play rugby. I lived in Hawaii. Rugby and Polynesian culture, how do I say this? Rugby's a big deal in Polynesian culture. And when you talk to guys who play rugby, they get hurt way less than football players, actually. Part of that's because they don't wear pads. So they realize they're not invincible. So they're a little safer. They do things differently. I don't know what the future of football is as far as injuries and safety and stuff, but it does feel like the hip drop tackle is a move towards making the game safer, if not ridiculous with how difficult it is to play defense. Because, again, I don't know how you tackle anybody with today's rules. And I don't, like if you're talented at all, play receiver. Like, you're going to make a lot of money. You're going to be more valuable. Don't play defense. Like, if you're a kid in high school, I think we're going to enter a point of the world where nobody wants to volunteer to play defense anymore because there's no incentive. It's an impossible task. And it's going to be really, I'm interested with where the game of football is going to go in the next couple of years because, like, seriously, why would you ever want to play defense? And if you're a kid in high school, you look at how much more money receivers make, offensive players make, how much more attention they get, more protection they get. Would you want to play defense in the NFL? If you were really talented and a great athlete growing up, you're like, no, I'm going to train for a receiver. I want to get the ball in my hands and make an impact and get paid a lot. So, the hip drop tackle is banned. Feel free to write in. Like, I'm really curious. I can be convinced this is a bad thing. I have an open mind here, but I saw the hip drop tackle got banned, and I just was not a fan. I was like, interesting. That sucks for defenders, but I wasn't mad. I really just don't. Maybe that's just my temperament. I don't really get mad about stuff, but I don't see the massive difference. If you disagree with me, if you think like I'm an idiot and the hip drop tackle getting banned is the worst thing ever, write a comment. Let me know. Like, I do want to hear from you. I want to hear challenge my opinion, please, because I would like to hear from someone else on this. And as my temperament is, all right, it is what it is. We'll figure it out, I guess. I want to talk about this. Brock Purdy got a big performance bonus. There's basically like a system in the NFL where based on how you play, you get a big bonus. Brock Purdy's salary for 2023, he made $985,000. Now, that's a ton of money. Let's be very clear. I would kill to make that much money in 1 year. Like, I would be, if I made $985,000, now that's pre-tax, by the way. So he probably made more like $400,000 because he's in California. He's getting taxed the living daylights out of him. However, if I made that much money, you'd never see me again. I would be on a farm in the woods in Hawaii, and I would be like I'd probably make videos actually because I enjoy that. But I would probably become like a parachute. A skydiving instructor, right? I'd buy my land, I would grow vegetables, and I would jump out of airplanes 3 days a week to pay for groceries, basically. So that's a lot of money. But in this scope of things, for an NFL quarterback, $985,000, it's nothing. Like, compared to the value he brings to the table, Brock Purdy was fourth in MVP voting, led his team to a Super Bowl appearance. He got paid nothing. So I was really excited when I saw, hey, Brock Purdy got a massive performance bonus. He got an extra on top of the $900,000 base salary. He got a big performance bonus. He made $739,795. So an extra, he basically doubled his salary. Made an extra $739,000 because of how well he played. Makes me happy. Brock Purdy, I think I've made people think I don't like him. I compared him to a Prius once, and I stand by that. Brock Purdy is not the best quarterback. He is not the most capable, but he's really quality. Brock Purdy set a franchise record for passing yards, had 4,280 yards this year. I didn't realize that. So Brock Purdy set a franchise record in the same franchise where Steve Young and Joe Montana played. Brock Purdy set a franchise record for most passing yards in a single year. That's crazy. Brock Purdy also became the first 49ers quarterback since Jeff Garcia in 2001 to throw for over 30 touchdown passes. Brock Purdy threw for 31 touchdowns this year and made his first ever Pro Bowl. On top of, again, he was fourth in MVP voting. I like seeing the guy get compensated. I'd like to see him make much more money in his lifetime. Again, I wouldn't pay Brock Purdy $40 million a year. That's insane. But I really hope Brock Purdy at some point in his life, for his sake, gets a really big payday, makes so much money that he's set for life, and not janky. If I made $400,000, I could probably find a way to make myself set for life. But I mean, legitimately, I want him to make $15, $20 million, get a big paycheck, kind of like Gardner Minshew just did, and walk away really comfortable. That would make me really happy. And so I'm rooting for Brock. I like Brock Purdy a lot, and I was happy to see the guy. He's not paid nothing, but man, for an NFL quarterback, he's grossly undercompensated. So to see him get a massive performance bonus made me really happy for the guy. I want to talk about the draft. The draft is coming up end of April. It's April 4th today, 4:12 in the morning right now. We all know Caleb Williams getting drafted number 1 overall, the USC quarterback. Then it gets interesting. With the number 2 overall pick, you got Washington. And the Patriots have the number 3 overall pick. Really the question, I think they're both going quarterback. The question is, which quarterback does Washington want? Do they want Drake May or Jaden Daniels, a Heisman Trophy winning, really talented athletic quarterback who I think, frankly, is much better than Drake May. Drake May really struggled. I don't love his mechanics. I don't love his habits. I thought he really didn't play great last year. I would imagine Washington is going to draft Jaden Daniels. That makes sense to me. The quarterback out of LSU, Heisman Trophy winner, can run like Lamar Jackson, has a great arm, really, really capable. So let's say Jaden Daniels goes to Washington. Then I would assume the Patriots draft Drake May, the quarterback out of North Carolina. But then it gets really interesting because there's still 2 teams that need a quarterback. Denver and Minnesota. And maybe the Raiders draft a quarterback. I could see them drafting a Bo Nix or Michael Penix Jr. or something like that. But it gets fascinating because I think the 3 best quarterbacks in this draft are the top. I don't know where I really don't know how to judge Drake May. But I think the NFL views him as a top 3 quarterback in this draft. So regardless of my opinion, I think the first 3 picks are going to be Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, and Drake May. Those are the guys that are going to go off the board first. But then you got a lot of question marks. J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. Bo Nix doesn't have a great arm. Michael Penix Jr. has been injured a ton. I don't love his film. He's okay. J.J. McCarthy was a game manager at Michigan, right? Didn't do a lot. They ran the football a ton. They'd never asked him to do very much. But we're starting to see rumors with J.J. McCarthy where some mock drafts have him drafted at number 3 rather than Drake May. We are seeing teams, and the overall view of the Michigan quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, his stock is going up and up and up. And I find it fascinating because I have no idea where he's going to land. I like a scenario where maybe Minnesota trades up to get J.J. McCarthy. They've got Sam Darnold on their roster, so they can start Sam Darnold week 1 if they need to. Let J.J. sit and learn. I don't know. Man, J.J. McCarthy's just fascinating because he didn't have to do very much at Michigan. They ran the ball well. They were physically outmatching everyone they played. He never was asked to throw the ball a ton and carry their team. But, man, I look at Minnesota. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, a really awesome offensive coach. I think J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota is really interesting. He's a Midwest kid, and I think him playing for the Vikings would be that That would be fun. And I don't know, maybe they trade up to 4. I believe, the Cardinals draft number 4 overall. Maybe they trade up there. And maybe Arizona trades down with Minnesota. The Vikings have the number 11 overall pick. Denver's got the number 12 overall pick. I think both are going to draft a quarterback, and I don't know which one they're interested in, but that number 4 spot, Arizona, is the earliest a team I think can trade up to go get a quarterback. Carolina, I guess that pick went to Chicago, so Chicago's drafting a quarterback number 1. Washington is drafting a quarterback number 2. I would imagine New England's going to draft a quarterback number 3. That number 4 spot for Arizona is an opportunity for a team to trade up and go get a quarterback, and maybe that's going to be Minnesota trading up to go get J.J. McCarthy. It's interesting to me. I'm like, what's going to happen after those first 3 picks? That is where the draft gets really, really interesting to me. Who is the number 4 quarterback off the board? And what quarterback do Minnesota and Denver end up with? What quarterbacks do they get? That's what I want to see from the draft at the end of April. That's what really, really fascinates me. By the way, the LA Chargers have the number 5 overall pick. So, again, it is Chicago, Washington, New England, Arizona. That number 5 pick is the LA Chargers, who, by the way, just got rid of Mike Williams at receiver, Keenan Allen at receiver. They depleted their weapons all over the place. I think it's very possible Arizona trades down. That would mean, well, actually, before we answer this, before I keep going, let's read a question from Joe on Patreon. Joe wrote in on Patreon. Joe said, "In Harbaugh we trust. Good morning, good afternoon, or whatever it is for you, Zach. I hope you're having a fantastic day. I hope this suffices as a solid write-in." It does. Thank you, man. Thank you, Joe. First off, unlike many Bolt Nation fans, I believe the Chargers cutting Mike Williams was a wise decision. He's getting older, he struggles to stay healthy, and was going to have a $20 million cap hit. Mike Williams is very talented and a great receiver. However, it was best for the organization to move on. That being said, what do you think the Chargers should do with the number 5 overall pick? You got 2 options to me, Joe. I would imagine Arizona, if they keep their pick number 4 overall, they're going to draft Marvin Harrison Jr., the receiver out of Ohio State. And I get that. But if they trade down, I think what the Chargers got to do, either they draft Marvin Harrison Jr., the receiver out of Ohio State, or Brock Bowers, the tight end out of Georgia. Either option, whichever one is available. I think I find it a tough decision. If both are available, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brock Bowers, do you go get a tight end to help Justin Herbert, or do you go get a receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr.? You probably draft the receiver, but I really would worry about passing on Brock Bowers. That feels like a George Kittle style, like top 3 tight end in football who's going to have a ton of production. Do you really want to pass on Brock Bowers? I don't know. That sketches me out a lot. Whoever's available, that is who the Chargers should draft number 5 overall. That is my honest belief. By the way, on March 14th, the Chargers traded wide receiver Keenan Allen to Chicago. Keenan Allen was asked to take a pay cut. The Chargers were trying to get down under their salary cap number they needed to be at. He's 31 years old, had a great year last year, had 108 catches, 1,243 yards, but Keenan Allen would not take a pay cut. The Chargers tried to adjust his contract. He said no, so they traded him to Chicago. Here's why that's exciting, by the way. I really believe in Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback who's going to be drafted number 1 overall by Chicago, right? I love Caleb Williams. I think he's the truth. He gets a lot of hate for his, frankly, personality, the way he carries himself off the field. I think it's totally ridiculous. Like, he's got a pink cell phone. Oh no, a pink phone. Clearly he's immature. Like, what are you talking? Who cares what color phone he has? Or I think he paints his nails. I couldn't give less of a flip. I don't care. He can play football, dude. He is such a dang good quarterback. Caleb Williams is awesome. And you look at what Chicago's put around him. It's almost a shame because I was begging Chicago for years to support their young quarterback, Justin Fields. They never really did. Now, fortunately, the past is the past. Justin Fields is gone. He's in Pittsburgh. What I am excited about is, as the Bears prepare to draft Caleb Williams, they really have put some good pieces around him as well. They brought in running back DeAndre Swift. They traded for receiver Keenan Allen, a veteran guy, runs great routes, got great hands. If he can stay healthy, he's a huge asset to Chicago. They also, remember, they traded for DJ Moore, so they got DJ Moore. They got Cole Kmet at tight end. They've got two good receivers, a good tight end, a good running back. It is a fantastic situation for a young quarterback like Caleb Williams to walk into. It's not very common for a quarterback to get drafted number 1 overall and have a pretty decent set of weapons around him. I think Caleb Williams would succeed even with less talent around him. But now that he's got, again, DJ Moore and Keenan Allen at receiver, Cole Kmet at tight end, DeAndre Swift at running back, it's a really exciting time to be a Bears fan. I think he's going to be the best quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears, and they're doing it right. The Bears have got support around their young quarterback, players to help him win now. And it makes me so happy to see, because it's been years and years and years since the Bears really had a good quarterback. They've tried a couple times, but I really like what they got going on in Chicago on that roster, building offensive weapons around Caleb Williams, and it makes me very, very happy. I think I am very confident Caleb Williams is going to work in the NFL and end up being the best quarterback in the history of the Chicago Bears. Not hard to do, by the way. Not a difficult task, but certainly one that I think is going to happen for Caleb Williams. Remember, I'm getting over being sick, so my throat is not doing great. Okay, I got a couple more things I want to talk about. Before we do that, though, I got to tell you about Rocket Money. How do you keep track of all your subscriptions? Can you tell me for sure how many you have and who is taking money from you each month? Have you ever had trouble canceling a subscription, or maybe discovered you were being charged for something you didn't think you should be charged for? Rocket Money can help you. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions. They monitor your spending, and they can even help you lower your bills. I can see all my subscriptions all in one place, and if I see something I don't want, I can cancel it with a few taps. I have never had to get on the phone with customer service. Plus, Rocket Money will even try to get you a refund for the last couple months of wasted money and negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you got to do is take a picture of your bill, take a picture of that bill, and Rocket Money will take care of the rest. Rocket Money has over 5 million users, and they have helped save its members an average of $720 a year. And there's over $500 million in canceled subscriptions across all their users for Rocket Money. Rocket Money is going to save you money. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel all of your unwanted subscriptions by going to rocketmoney.com/SOS. That is rocketmoney.com/SOS. rocketmoney.com/SOS. All right. Last weekend we had the USFL opening weekend. Sorry, the UFL. I'm not used to saying that. The USFL and XFL merged to make one super league, little spring league, the UFL, United Football League. I watched a game or two. I watched one game entirely. I don't even remember the name of the teams, but it was the Arlington Renegades. I believe they were playing the Houston Roughnecks. Do not quote me on that. No, they were playing Birmingham, the Birmingham Stallions. That's what it was. I loved it though. What I saw, I've been insanely busy. I've been doing the equivalent of like 2 jobs in one at my job right now. I've been moving. I've been sick. I've been dealing with insurance, which is not fun. By the way, the guy who broke into my truck, he didn't break one window. He broke 2 of them. I don't know the idiot tweaker who broke into my truck. When you break a window, Here's what you do. You unlock the truck, and then you can go anywhere and steal whatever you want. You don't need to break 2 windows to steal everything I own from my truck. Like, you could have just broken 1 window and hit the unlock button. Instead, this degenerate tweaker dude, which makes me so mad, was so, and like, bungee cords, by the way, like, that have 2 hooks, he could have just unhooked them. He cut them. Like, this guy was clearly on something, and I'm very upset that my truck got broken into. And by the way, my new building has a parking garage. The paperwork has been taking a long time. So I had to park on the street. My truck got broken into. Not fun. What I'm saying is I didn't watch every UFL game this weekend. I would like to watch more, but I want to report back to you. What I saw was fun. I watched Luis Perez throw a long touchdown pass. I really like seeing some of the familiar faces from other spring leagues in years past play. And my instant reaction, without watching a lot of UFL, it's good football. It's interesting. It's high quality. The quarterback play is good. It's a good opportunity. I have not a single bad thing to say about the UFL. I didn't get to watch as much as I wanted, but I really enjoyed it. I really liked what I saw. It's a good product. And for me right now, I miss football a lot. I'm not that into basketball. I'm really excited this weekend to sit down and watch a lot of UFL football. I'm house sitting for my brother, so like I'm going to watch his dog and just be doing nothing all weekend. I'm literally going to watch so much football. It's not even funny. I can't wait for it. It's going to be awesome. So if you want to watch good football this weekend, watch the UFL. It's going to be outstanding. By the way, I talked about it earlier a little bit. The Chargers cut Mike Williams. He was going to be $20 million against the salary cap. I guess he was going to make $32 million this year, which is insane. Mike Williams was never going to make that much. Of course, they cut him. But here's where Mike Williams ended up. He's now a member of the New York Jets, playing with Aaron Rodgers, which I think is a match made in heaven. He's talented. He's not amazing. He's older for sure. But what Mike Williams is for the Jets is a veteran receiver who I think is going to really work well with Aaron Rodgers. I really like the fit. I think it's awesome. Makes sense the Chargers cut him. Makes sense the Jets brought him in. It's a really interesting move. And the Jets have another good receiver on top of Garrett Wilson. I think it's a really good fit. I really do. I think it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the Jets this year. They're a total wild card. Aaron Rodgers coming back from the torn Achilles. Mike Williams is this aging veteran receiver. You got a coach who seems frustrated. Man, I don't know what to make of the Jets, but I'd like to see them do well. And I really like that they added Mike Williams. That feels like a really good move to me. All right, we're going to end the show with questions from Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. It's $1 a month. You can donate more if you want to. Please do. It literally does help me pay my bills. I've got rent to pay. So every dollar possible really helps me. So go to Patreon, patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. If you support there, makes a huge impact on my life. On top of that, though, you get to write into the show. And I read as many write-ins as humanly possible. I read every one of them with my eyeballs. I pick the top couple to read on the show. That leads me to Joshua. Joshua writes in and says, "What's up, Wacky Zach?" Oh, he says Wacky Zacky. Sorry. What's up, Wacky Zacky? Joshua says, "Firstly, I'm pumped that you're enjoying life right now, judging by your Instagram story anyway. For my question or questions, I've got a football one and a random football free one. I'll start with my football question," Joshua says. "The first round of the draft is my absolute favorite day of the NFL calendar, and it's getting close. It's just great seeing these young, usually working class guys get this shot at generational wealth, let alone all the super cool and interesting things, teams and fits and trade scenarios and what have you. I was wondering if there's a draft moment that stays with you either for how cool the story was or how wild the circumstances were." And then we'll get into your second question in a minute. Joshua, the thing that comes to mind when you ask me if there's any draft day stuff that is memorable. Baker Mayfield going number 1 overall was really cool and really surprised me. But actually, my favorite, the 2018 draft was really like a legendary quarterback draft. Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Rosen, And then my favorite part of that draft was that with the last pick of the first round, the Ravens moved back up into the draft, back up into the first round. The Ravens move up and go draft Lamar Jackson. Mind you, when they've got Joe Flacco already at quarterback, like they just said, we like Lamar, we're going to go get him and make him a quarterback, and they did, and it worked out really well. That is the move that, to me, really, really stands out as like, oh, man, that was cool to watch live. It's cool to think back to. The Ravens having the foresight saying, we like Lamar, we're going to go get him. He's our guy. That makes me really happy. That's one of my favorite. The first round of the draft, like you said, Joshua, day one of the draft is always just awesome. Like there's so many surprises and quarterbacks are moving around, but there's also just a lot of interesting stuff going on. I'm excited for the draft this year. It's going to be really fun, and I wonder who's going to get the most, right? Who's going to get the Brock Bowers, the Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, these couple really good players that feel like surefire NFL starters without a shadow of a doubt. I am really fascinated to see that. Now, Joshua has a second question. He says, for my non-football question, the quote, guys think about the Roman Empire all the time thing? Joshua says, do you have any random intrusive thought that you think about way too much every day? Yes, I do. I have never thought about the Roman Empire, but I've got my own Roman Empire. The thing I think about, unfortunately, is the apocalypse. Like what I will do when the world ends, if the world ends. I'm not a doomsday prepper. I've got very little prep done. I think the way I prepare is by honing my skills. Like I love to hunt and I learn about gardening. Like I am really confident if the world ended today, I would live. I'd be fine. I'm dating an ER nurse. I'm good with people. I'm good with tools. I'm good at hunting and fishing and stuff like that. I'm getting better at fishing at least. I'm confident me and my girlfriend, we would survive. Like she is very capable. She's a medical professional. She's really tough. She's stronger than me, actually, more buff. And I'm a wilderness type of guy. I always think about what am I going to do if the apocalypse happens? How could it happen? And am I prepared? It really weighs on me. Like if I have kids someday, I feel like a responsibility to know how to provide for them if the world shuts down. Like, can I fish? Can I hunt? Can I get them food? And that, I think about it like all the time, actually. That's my Roman Empire. What am I going to do if the world ends? How could the world end? First of all, I don't know what that would look like, but am I prepared is basically the question, right? And I don't mean stuff like I don't hoard food, none of that. I mean, do I have the skills necessary that if the world ended tomorrow, I'm ready to go and it can be helpful for my family and the people I care about? Can I help them survive with the skills I have? I think I can. And that for sure is my quote, Roman Empire conversation in my head. Joe writes in, says, now that you've been in the career field for a while in multiple facets, what's your favorite thing and now least favorite thing about being in the trades? For me, the confidence boost of being able to repair and build things is amazing. But sometimes clients ask for things that either aren't practical or possible. Sorry for the small novel, but thanks for your eyeballs. Thanks to your eyeballs for making it all the way through this. Joe, what do I like about the trades? What do I hate about the trades? I like way more about the trades than I don't like. I like not working in an office. That makes me really happy. So like I get to drive around all day. I get my own truck. I'm out there solving problems, helping people. The trades are awesome. Like you get paid good money. You get health care. It's interesting work. Like I find the mechanical parts of the job really interesting. How stuff works, what you're doing. It feels really good when someone doesn't have heat or cooling. It's really good to go fix. Fixing a furnace makes me feel really. It's winter. It's really cold. They don't have a way to heat their home. You go fix someone's furnace. Like that's a feel good moment for sure. So I think that there are way more benefits. There's way more things I like about the trades than don't like. The things I don't like, being messy after work. Like, you crawl around a crawl space long enough at work, you get kind of dirty and you're like, it's kind of nasty. The attics are really hot that sucks during the day. Like huffing insulation is not fun. Breathing insulation because you're in an attic all day. Don't love that. I mean, I'm never in an attic all day, but you get my point. Like, it's kind of a dirty job sometimes, but I'll take that all day over sitting at a desk for. I mean, I've done that job. I've sat at a desk. When I did Strong Opinion Sports full time back in 2019, right? God, that's like 5 years ago now. It's crazy to think about. But I was at my desk 7 days a week, like 12 hours a day, like all day, all the time. And I had no life, and it was not for me. I really much prefer driving around, solving problems, going to different stops throughout the day, helping lots of people. I really like working in the trades, and I like driving around and helping people. So, yeah, the trades are a great fit for me. I love them, and I'm pretty okay at my job. I really think I'm solid at what I do, and I enjoy it a ton. Jay writes in. Jay says, "Hello, Zach." And I don't know how to. I'm gonna cough on screen. Ready? There it is. There's been a thing scratching the back of my throat for like hours. I finally got it. Jay says, "Hello, Zach. A lot of football media types are suggesting a rule change where teams would attempt a fourth and whatever to replace the onside kick rule. In my opinion, this is a ridiculous idea, and I have a better one. Simply let the kicking team stack up 7 or 8 players on one side for the onside kick attempt, but if the ball travels past the receiving team's 40-yard line, it's a penalty and the receiving team gains possession. I think this would give the kicking team a slightly better chance to recover the onside kick. I should note, in this situation, the receiving team would also be allowed to stack more players on one side of the field. Yes, it takes away the element of surprise, but the surprise onside kick is basically dead already. Would love to hear your thoughts. Love the show. Come to Minnesota sometime to hang out." Jay says, "Jay, let's do that. Let's hang out. Where in Minnesota do you live? Send me a message. I know Minnesota pretty well. I'm really fascinated by that. Let me know." We've got Logan and now Jay in Minnesota. A couple people to hang out with. I love that. I will say, Jay, I vehemently disagree with you. The 4th and 15, the 4th and whatever, 1 down to try to get a first down and keep the ball is a great idea. Onside kicks not only aren't very probable, they're also not very fun. They're not very interesting. I want to see an alternative way to get the ball back. I think that's what if you get really good at it? What if you have a team who just like, they're converting 4th and 15s like all the time. They score like 5 touchdowns in a row because they just convert 4th and 15 all the dang time. I love that idea. And I just think you're wrong. I think the 4th and 15, 4th and 10, whatever it is, 1 down to get a big chunk of yards and maintain possession sounds like a really interesting, compelling, healthy way to start a drive. And I like that idea a lot. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that, it's so easy to, what's the right wording here? I don't know, man. An onside kick is so easy to not get and not appreciate and feel like a hopeless move. If my team had 4th and 15, all they got to do is get 15 yards, they get the ball back, I would have way more hope. And so that really matters to me as well. I think that's a really interesting scenario. Lionheart writes in. Lionheart says, it's a very long one. "Zach, I have what may be a bit of a controversial write-in for you this week. My favorite team, the Cincinnati Bengals, just franchise tagged T. Higgins, and T. Higgins did not like this move, and he requested a trade. Usually it creates a lot of tension between the organization and player whenever a player gets tagged. I'm all for guys getting their bag while they can, but I find it very hard to sympathize with players who are unhappy about getting tagged. When you're franchise tagged, and maybe it's because I live in such a drastically different world and can't relate to these types of problems, but the way some players talk about the franchise tag can really get under my skin. T. Higgins posted "locked up by Akon" on his Instagram story in response to the franchise tag. insinuating that the franchise tag was metaphorically locking him in a prison cell. Keep in mind that under the franchise tag, T. Higgins is going to make over $1 million per game this year as a, quote, prisoner of the Cincinnati Bengals. I've always loved T. Higgins as a player, and I even own a T. Higgins jersey, but goddamn, it feels so out of touch to post that when you play in a Rust Belt city where poverty levels have reached double the national poverty rate. Just to be clear, if T. Higgins were to get a long-term deal tomorrow, I would be nothing but happy for him as he has undeniably earned a long-term deal. But I think players should stop complaining about getting franchise tagged and being held, quote, hostage, as it is ultimately up to them whether or not to play on the tag. This is by no means unique to T. Higgins. Dozens of players have expressed their disdain for the franchise tag. I will always support players trying to maximize their limited window to make money in this sport. I see nothing wrong with a player wanting more money or wanting a longer contract. Players should fight for every dime they think they deserve. But whenever you try to make the comparison that making 20 times the U.S. salary per game is akin to prison, you lost me. I could go on and on about this topic, but let me just finish my thoughts by pointing out that players clearly don't hate the franchise tag that much because they agreed to keep the tag in the last CBA in 2020. I love everything you said, dude. I totally agree, Lionheart. A player complaining about making over $1 million a game when there's 17 games, give me a break, dude. That's generational wealth. Shut your mouth. No. Yeah. I would love to see him get paid too, by the way. I really like T. Higgins, but you can't complain when you make that much money, in my opinion. That's just ridiculous. Like, you're so out of touch. You're so far removed from the real world at that point. And look, here's the thing. If T. Higgins plays really well, he's going to get the contract he wants. And if not, I think the franchise tag benefits everybody. It's a win-win. You can make a lot of money. You make a lot of money. And you get your job kept. I don't know, man. I think it's I'm with you. I hate the complaining about it. Like, it's not that bad. Shut up and stop complaining about making millions and millions and millions of dollars. So Lionheart, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Adam writes in. Adam says, "Hey, dude, hope life is treating you good. How are you feeling about the situation with the Chargers? Are we looking to see a down year for Herbert, or do you think they can fill the void of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams at receiver? And I just saw Justin Fields to the Steelers, which I love for them, but I am jealous as a Giants fan. Seems like a good safety quarterback in case Russell Wilson is a bust. Man, I forgot how fun free agency is. Let's just focus on the Chargers here. The Chargers and Buffalo are the two teams. They got an expensive quarterback, Justin Herbert and Josh Allen. They got rid of basically all their weapons, but unlike, the Chargers have the number 5 overall pick. They're going to get another weapon, whether it's Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brock Bowers, we have no idea, but they're going to be okay. The Bills have the number 28 overall pick. They're not even going to draft anybody valuable. They're just screwed. And so I think that, could we see a down year from Justin Herbert? Maybe, possibly. But Josh Allen's the one I'm way more suspect of. The one I think is actually going to have a down year is that guy, Josh Allen. I worry about him a lot. So, yeah, man. I actually feel pretty good about Justin Herbert because he's going to have, presumably, Marvin Harrison Jr. or Brock Bowers, and he's going to have Jim Harbaugh, helping coach him. And I think that's going to be a huge boon for him. So I don't think it's going to be the best year ever for Justin Herbert's career, but I think he's going to have a good year for sure. And I'm not too worried about him at all, actually, because of they've got good positioning in the draft. They've got great coaches around him. Justin Herbert's going to be just fine this year. I'd be way, way more worried about Josh Allen if I were you than Justin Herbert. All right, Lucas writes in. Lucas says, with a sort of surprise retirement from Aaron Donald this week, I am sure he's a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer and one of the best defenders I've ever been able to watch. Are there any other players who could retire today and be a slam dunk Hall of Fame player? be a slam dunk first ballot Hall of Famer, and one of the best defenders I've ever seen. Are there any? Okay. Are there any other players who could retire today and be a slam dunk Hall of Fame inductee? Challenge mode, no quarterbacks. I thought of 3 guys right away that if they retired today, they're already Hall of Famers. Trent Williams, the left tackle for the 49ers. Absolutely, that's a Hall of Fame left tackle. Easily, no doubt. Then the other 2 players are Travis Kelce and George Kittle. 2 incredibly good tight ends. I thought about Derrick Henry, but he's actually way lower on the all-time rushing list than I thought. He's only run for like 9,000 yards, which is crazy low, actually, given how long he's been around. I felt, at least it felt lower than I expected from Derrick Henry. But the 3 guys that I don't even have to think about, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Travis Kelce, all 3 are Hall of Famers easily, and I feel really, really good about that. Last write-in, Justin says, "Hey, Zach, wanted to give you an update on your question regarding my Perot Dallas Museum write-in, talking about the 20-yard dash simulator, which I have since found out is called the Sports Run. You were asking if there's any actual fast athletes, and to answer your question, they had Travis Kelce, Felix Jones, former Cowboys running back, Ronnie Baker Jr., an Olympic sprinter, and Natalie Cook, a cross-country runner, and a life-size Tyrannosaurus Rex. So there are things at this Perot Dallas Museum. You can race against virtual holograms, basically. And some of them are fast as all get out, apparently. Felix Jones, Travis Kelce, Ronnie Baker Jr., Natalie Cook, and a Tyrannosaurus Rex. That's the one I want to race. I want to race the T-Rex for sure. How do they know how fast the T-Rex was, though? It's a bit nonsense, right? You take some bones and you can tell how fast that thing would run? Really? Really? Also, aren't we all pretty sure dinosaurs had feathers? Like, yeah, they're basically giant chickens. Food for thought there. Guys, that's all I got today. I love you. I appreciate you. Write in on Patreon. I want to hear from you guys. And I apologize. I really have been dying. Like, my job has been kicking my butt. I was really sick. I couldn't talk. I've been moving. I had a bunch of my stuff stolen. It's been a really, really difficult couple. Difficult's the wrong word. It's been a very busy last couple weeks for me. And I'm doing really good, actually. It's just been a lot of time-consuming crap. Doing my taxes. Like, I just had a lot on my plate. And I hope you're doing well. I love you guys, seriously. And I hope things are good for you. And I will see you shortly, hopefully earlier in the week, next week, for SOS episode 637. Guys, I love you. I appreciate you. And bam, we are done.